everyone. Welcome to the Cathy Show. I'm your host, Cathy Zhang. So today we're going to talk about quite a few piece of news that's pretty important. So one day after President Trump's Florida home raided by FBI, Republican Congressman Scott Perry from Pennsylvania said that the FBI confiscated his cell phone. So what happened? And what's the responses from GOP and the Democrats to the FBI's raid to Mar-a-Lago? And what is President Trump's most recent response? And the last, I will have an update of the Chinese Village Bank's case. So that's a response to, our viewers' request. Oh, by the way, there's also some, talking about Nancy Pelosi's today's comments on China. So what's that about? All right, so without further ado, let's get into the news. Congressman Scott Perry told Fox News today that he was approached by 3 FBI agents who handed him a warrant and requested that he turned over his cell phone earlier today. At the time, he was traveling with his family earlier in the day. Scott Perry has been a House representative in Pennsylvania since 2013, so for 5 terms he's been a House representative. He is a retired Pennsylvania Army National Guard general, and Perry is an original member of the conservative House Freedom Caucus and was elected and is serving as the chairman of the caucus. Perry has been loyal Trump ally and thus a target of interest of the Democratic-dominated January 6th House Select Committee. So Perry said in his statement, quote, "This morning, while traveling with my family, 3 FBI agents visited me and they seized my cell phone. They made no attempt to contact my lawyer, who would have made arrangements for them to have my phone if that was their wish." He continued, "I'm outraged, though not surprised, that the FBI, under the direction of Merrick Garland, DOJ, who seized the phone of a sitting member of Congress." Perry continued, quote, "My phone contains info about my legislative and political activities and personal private discussions with my family, my wife, constituents, and friends. None of this is the government's business." Scott Perry asserted in his statement that, as with President Trump last night, DOJ chose this unnecessary and aggressive action instead of simply contacting my lawyer. This kind of banana republic tactics should concern every citizen, especially considering the decision before Congress this week to hire 87,000 new IRS agents to further persecute law-abiding citizens, end quote. So the Justice Department has not responded on Perry's claims, according to Fox News. So before yesterday, quite a few Trump allies or related people had been raided or searched by FBI with a very extreme manner. Trump's campaign advisor, Roger Stone, his lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, his assistant at the White House, Peter Navarro, etc. So obviously, Trump was not the first, not the last person who had this kind of treatment from FBI. So right now, Representative Scott Perry got his phone confiscated by the FBI. So what do you think? Do you think it's alarming? What do you think this gonna lead to? So leave your comments there, and we'll share with everyone. Now let's get to the responses from yesterday's raid on Trump's home in Mar-a-Lago. So far, the Department of Justice has not officially come out and explained what had happened or why this happened. According to multiple media reports, the search warrant was approved by a federal district judge, which is the U.S. Magistrate Judge Bruce Reinhardt, located at the U.S. District Court of the Southern District of Florida's West Palm Beach. The warrant applications, the orders approved the applications, and the other documents are under seal, meaning they are not available to the public right now. Judge Reinhardt spent 10 years at a private practice before becoming a magistrate judge in 2018. According to documents entered by lawyers for women that Epstein, the infamous Epstein, alleged abused, Reinhardt joined Epstein's payroll shortly after a non-prosecution agreement was reached with Epstein. He reportedly told Miami Herald that he represented Epstein's pilots, his schedulers, and some other Epstein's employees. And the judge also donated thousands of dollars to former President Barack Obama's presidential campaign and the Victory Fund in 2008. And in the meanwhile, he donated a few $100s to Jeb Bush when he ran for the president. So now that's who approved this search warrant. So right now, the official word is that the FBI agents were seeking evidence related to whether Trump moved classified documents from the White House to his compound at Mar-a-Lago. So is that the true reason? We don't know yet because DOJ has not come out and explained. Congressman Mike Lee from Utah, in his tweet, he asked 12 questions about this raid, so I found it's pretty interesting. So Mike Lee is a lawyer, former federal prosecutor, and a current member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. And he said he have a few questions about FBI's raid of Mar-a-Lago. So his first question is, did Attorney General Garland personally sign off on this action? Obviously, right now, we don't have the answer. You can take a guess. His second question is, why break into the safe rather than seize it, take it into custody, and then seek a warrant to open it? And the third question he had was, why obtain and execute a search warrant rather than first seeking the items in question either through an informal processor or with a subpoena? So according to Eric Trump, President Trump's son, he confirmed that the FBI told Trump's staff they were searching for documents the National Archives believe were classified and missing. He said the FBI brought a safe cracker. They are prepared, and cracked open a safe in Mar-a-Lago, but found nothing. He also said that the agents moved the box of documents without looking through them. Harvard Law Professor Emeritus Alan Dershowitz, who is a lifelong Democrat who voted for Biden but also defended Trump during the impeachment, he said that the raid was an aberration, given that Trump wasn't even in Florida. He said the raid should be the last resort after DOJ exhausts all of the other options. Another law professor from George Washington University, Jonathan Turley, he's another Democrat who also defended Trump during the impeachment, agreed that the raid raised serious questions. He said the question is why a subpoena would not suffice, particularly when the subject, meaning Trump, is not present at the location. And he tweeted saying, instead, a raid was ordered to scope up boxes of potential sensitive documents that were not reviewable at the scene. Alan Dershowitz also said that there's no convincing proof that Trump was planning to destroy evidence And the Biden DOJ and the FBI, in his opinion, risked committing an abuse of power with the raid. So, Congressman Mike Lee's fourth question, he asked, if this really is about presidential records, why would the former president be subject to prosecution to hanging on to classified documents? He said it was himself in charge of the declassifying documents at the time he obtained and had unfettered access to them. And his fifth question is, he said, perhaps there's something there we don't know, something that once known will clarify the reason for the raid. If there is, he said, FBI needs to bring forward the justification for the unprecedented action as soon as possible. But if there isn't, we've got a problem at FBI. His sixth question is, classification authority belongs to the President of the United States and not to bureaucrats at the National Archives. The seventh question, he said, if this turns out to be the product of the growing political weaponization of federal law enforcement agencies, shouldn't this incident cause all Americans to be even more outraged by the Democrats' plan to hire an additional 87,000 agents, meaning in IRS? And the eighth question, he said, how is this aggressive action defensible in light of the FBI DOJ treatment of Hillary Clinton, who was never subject to a raid like this, even though she first mishandled classified material and second destroyed evidence? And he continued to ask next question, what should we make of the fact that this is occurring while FBI and the DOJ have taken no discernible action regarding, for example, flagrant violations of the law by A, Hunter Biden, or B, pro-abortion extremists threatening Supreme Court justices at their homes? And 10th question, he asked, why should we assume that the FBI is above targeting Republicans when it creates documents like this one, which encourage agents to be suspicious of people who display the Betsy Ross flag or the "Don't tread on me" Gadsden flag. And the last question I asked, shouldn't all Americans be suspicious of the FBI basis on its use of warrantless backdoor searches under Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, about which Christopher Wray expressed very little concern when I questioned him at last week's hearing? If the FBI indeed raided Donald Trump's compound at Mar-a-Lago looking for classified documents, it stands in sharp contrast to the way that the FBI and Justice Department acted 7 years ago when the similar question arose about Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's email. So what happened back in summer of 2015, there was no raid of Ms. Clinton's home in New York, where the server has been operated. In fact, the former Secretary of State's lawyer, David Kendall, was allowed to keep a thumb drive of the archives of her inbox, complete with classified materials inside his office. So the FBI even approved a special safe for her lawyer to use to store the classified materials. In the end, Hillary Clinton faced no prosecution because then FBI Director James Comey refused to send the matter to DOJ, even though he declared her handling of the classified emails were reckless. So it's obvious to many people that the FBI was acting with a political double standard. So former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo tweeted, saying that, quote, executing a warrant against ex-president of the United States is dangerous. The apparent political weaponization of DOJ FBI is shameful. Attorney General must explain why the 250 years of practice was appended with this raid. Mike Pompeo said, I served on Benghazi committee where we proved Hillary possessed classified information. We didn't raid her home. So, is the administration weaponizing the Justice Department and the FBI against the political opponents? So this question was asked to the White House spokesperson at the press conference today. So let's take a listen.
Is this administration weaponizing the Justice Department and the FBI against political opponents?
Peter, the president believes in the rule of law. The president believes in the independence of the Department of Justice.
That's a yes or no? Just
No, that is,
White House.
no, it's a yes or a no for you. I'm answering the question. You may not like it, but I'm answering the question. And I'm answering the question and I'm telling you that we are not going to comment on a criminal investigation. The president has been very clear. I laid out what his thoughts were back on January 7th in 2021 about how he saw the Department of Justice. And I'm just going to leave it there. We're not going to comment from here, from this White House, on a criminal investigation that is currently happening.
All right, so I just show you the full reply from the White House spokesperson, Karine Jean-Pierre. So do you think she answered the question raised by Peter Doocy? Yeah, just hear your comments there. So that actually, this is really some question I think people wanted to find out the answer. So I found, notice there was earlier tweet from a serious tweet from a person called Tao Ray. He's a tech company executive, a former lab director at Harvard University. He tweeted something very interesting back in July, on July 27th. Let's take a look. He tweeted in Chinese, so here's the translation. He said, I have reliable information that multiple Democrats are pressuring the Justice Department to criminally prosecute Trump. They've formally approached a number of heavyweight leftist legal experts for legal guidance. And one of them, a Harvard law professor, told me privately that he's providing advice as a consultant. At present, there is a high probability that the Department of Justice will initiate a lawsuit. As long as a federal lawsuit can be initiated in Washington, the chance of winning are quite large. After all, 98% of people in D.C. hate Trump. And he continued saying in a following tweet, as a former member of Harvard's so-called Ethics Center, he said, I know many of these people, and I was shocked to hear that. Of course, these people don't know my own political stance. I'll tell you about my experience and the left's plan soon. I literally feel like I was living in a nightmare world. Now, after the raid of Mar-a-Lago, Tao Ray, he tweeted yesterday on the August 8th, 4:55 p.m. Pacific time. He said, sure enough, just 2 weeks after I got the following news, today the FBI raided Trump's home, Mar-a-Lago, and conducted a massive search. And no specific reasons was provided. The left has officially begun criminal persecution of Trump. Today's is important note in the development of the American political system. The rule of law has gradually become the rule of the law, which he, meaning is, the rule of the law is becoming using the law to rule. Okay, and he said that the state apparatus also began to be used for political prosecution. Not only Republican lawmakers and conservative commentators. So that's the 3 tweets by this person who is a tech executive, formerly a professor in Harvard University, a lab director. So what do you think? He claims that he got some inside information about what's going to happen, and now he said, see, it is happening. And now, not only the Republican lawmakers and the conservative commentators expressed the serious concern that the raid was politically motivated, even some Democrats and even never Trumpers also expressed concerns. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy of California said, if the GOP takes majority control in the fall after the midterm, they will probe the DOJ over the raid. House Republican Study Committee Chair Jim Banks of Indiana said that this FBI's action was un-American. The House Judiciary Republicans wrote, this is what happens in third world countries, not the United States. Does the FBI have better things to do than harassing the former president? Now, the former Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang tweeted a warning today to those who celebrate the raid, stating the FBI's action will fuel millions of Americans' ever-increasing distrust of the corrupt government establishment. He said he is not a Trump fan, but he linked to a political story, a story on the Political, which quoted a legal expert saying, quote, Trump will be re-elected president in 2024, hands down. It will prove to be the greatest law enforcement mistake in history. And the former New York governor, Andrew Cuomo, also questioned the motives of the raid, tweeting, DOJ must immediately explain the reason for its raid, and it must be more than a search for inconsequential archives, or it will be viewed as a political tactic. John McCain's daughter, Meghan McCain, said, this better be legit, or you'll make him, meaning Trump, martyr and just handing him the 2024 on a silver plate. Another prominent never-Trump Republican, Joe Walsh, admitted that the raid on Trump's home could push moderate Republicans into supporting him for 2024. So those are, different responses from different parties. And Senator Lindsey Graham said that he believes the FBI raid on Trump's Florida home will make him more likely to run for president in 2024. He made this comment about 1 hour after talking to Trump. Lindsey Graham said, one thing I can tell you is that I believe he was going to run before. I'm stronger in my belief now. Lindsey Graham also demanded more information on the raid from the Justice Department. So, what do you think? Is this raid, what the FBI did, gonna fuel more people to support Trump, or the opposite? And a lot of people talking about the action taken by FBI was because of some of the leftist Democrats who wanted to prevent Trump running again in 2024. So what's President Trump's response today? He released a new video earlier this morning and after yesterday's raid. So the video begins with rolling thunders, as the former president saying, quote, "We are a nation in decline." Then he listed the crises and the failures under the current administration, including the worst inflation over 40 years, energy crisis, disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal, the Russian-Ukraine war, and United States people no longer have free and fair press. Free speech rights are being limited, and crime is spiking, and including he mentioned the weaponization of the law enforcement against political opponents. However, he ended the video with a more positive notes. Let's take a listen.
We will not bend, we will not break, we will not yield, ever, ever, ever. We will never give in, we will never give up, and we will never, ever back down. We will never let you down, as long as we are confident and united. The tyrants we are fighting do not stand even a little chance. Because we are Americans, and Americans kneel to God and God alone. And it is time to start talking about greatness for our country again.
All right. So what do you think? Is this gonna just fuel Trump more for him to run for president again in 2024, or, otherwise? So share your comments. So before we go further, just, let's take a look at some of your comments here. So Mark, you said, let's see what Obama has in his safe. It is true, without, the action by the FBI, I think it just, it's outraged by many people, not only Trump supporters. I think why some of those Democrats or independents are also feel concerned is, think of that, if it can happen to Trump, like to, even though people don't like Trump, right? But people can imagine if it can happen to a former president, can it happen to anyone in this country? And I think their concerns are legitimate. And, Mark, thank you, saying, please leave a like for this insightful, truthful reporting. Thank you, Mark. Yes, please, if you have not hit the like button, please do so, and leave your comments, because this will trigger the algorithm. And very unfortunately, our channel is, a lot of people tell us being shadow banned, but any of your little action can help. I really appreciate that. Mark, you're saying she's right about that. This is sure to galvanizing support for Trump. Okay. And so any other comments there? Okay, Linda, you asked Cathy, is this what the CCP does? Unfortunately, yes. So we see a lot of familiarity in this, is how the totalitarian regime weaponize its state agents to prosecute political opponents or prosecute people who have different opinions. Because in China, literally there's no second party or third party, basically, right? But they definitely use, weaponize those government agencies to prosecute people who are, not agreeing with the CCP. So it is unfortunate we're seeing these similar things is happening in the United States. So that's why I think people should be alarmed, no matter which party you are in. Even now you are on the other side of the aisle. If we allow this to continue to happen, if we don't correct this, it could happen to anyone down the road. Unfortunately, I'm not trying to kind of fear-mongering or anything. It is the trend. It is the playbook of the extreme leftists, the playbook of the, any tyranny regime. So it is really, we have to, speak against it. We need to, by all means, need to crack this. Should not allow this happen to anyone, because this is what happened in China under CCP. They just, they said they have constitution, they have a rule of law. However, they would the party is just so corrupted. So a lot of people just follow them, right? If you don't corrupt, you won't earn a lot of money. If you don't go along with them, you won't have a higher political stance. You cannot make a lot of money. But then if you go along, so you probably can have a better life. You can earn more money. But one day, if there's always political power struggle, right? And then they can always use what you did. For example, we had a friend, high school friend, visited us back years ago, and he's executive officer in a company. The company is China and a foreign entity combined. And he said everyone, he came to have a business trip, and he said he went back and everybody just forged documents to try to get more reimbursement. All right, so it's a little corruption, right? However, he said then they make everybody do that. Then one day, if they wanted to just prosecute, or try to fire a certain person, they can easily get the evidence. Say, telling him or her, see, you forged just a false document on the business trip in reimbursement. You're fired. You committed a kind of, crime or misbehavior. So that's what's happening in China. It's only a very small kind of example, but that's what they do. Okay, it's the playbook. So they basically corrupt people, and so that they can easily, on the other hand, prosecute people. Even though some people don't go along with them, they can make up things. Okay, they can plant some kind of so-called evidence showing they are corrupted or misbehavior, broke the law, so they can just do anything as they wish. So that's why we cannot let this happen in the United States, right? FBI cannot just raid a former president's home without exhausting all the means, right? So let's see. The IRS, the 87,000 IRS agents, that's very concerning. M said the pick and choose what is punished is disgusting. To go from peace, hope, and prosperity to a death spiral is horrifying. We must win this battle. Yeah, I hear you. And the Cancer Mouse, you said I would rather die on my feet, a free woman, than taking a knee to be an enslaved person. Very well said. In China, the CCP, the communists or a dictatorship, they just want to enslave everybody, so that they can, only a small percentage of the elites can have all the benefits. So, but it's not gonna happen in the United States because people like you, right? Just like you said. Cathy saying, you said the DOJ must see the writing on the wall of their department dismantled in order to pull this such stunt. Michael, you said for the past 10 years, courts and rules of law become a joke in Hong Kong. It is exactly what's happening here now. I've seen it happen and now trying to retire here in the States. It's happening all over. Oh, wow. So it seems, Michael, you are from Hong Kong or you lived in Hong Kong before. Yeah, so United States being such, it's a land of dream, right? Land of hope. I think a lot of people are realizing the extreme leftists having this, they are doing some, executing their plan here too, and all over the world, as a matter of fact, unfortunately. So I think it is, the more they do that, I think, hopefully more people will wake up, right? So, right. All right, so now let's go to, okay, I think, right, right now it is a good segue to talk about what House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said. I think a lot of people are very concerned of what she said today. I believe is when she was speaking with the NBC Today's host. She emphasized, after she came back from the Asian trip, the visit of Taiwan. So on the show, she emphasized the importance of her bipartisan trip to Taiwan that was met with the threats from the Chinese Communist Party. Then she said something, I think it's just disturbing to many people. Let's just take a listen to that segment.
We still support the one China policy. We go there to acknowledge the status quo is what our policy is. There was nothing disruptive about that. It was only about saying China is one of the freest societies in the world. Don't take it from me. That's from Freedom House.
Okay. So the last sentence, right? She said China is it's one of the freest society in the world. So that's really shocking. But I think if you really just kind of take, listen to what she said previously and take into the context, I think that's she was maybe a slip of tongue. She's referring to Taiwan as one of the freest country, because before that she was saying, you know what, why don't we just show China that we support Taiwan? It's part of the U.S.-Taiwan Relations Act. We did not go there to change our policy. We still support the one China policy. We go there to acknowledge the status quo is what our policy is. And then she said there was nothing disruptive about that. It was only about saying China is one of the freest society. I think here she's referring to, she actually meant to say Taiwan is one of the freest societies in the world. And then she following by that saying, don't take it from me. That's from Freedom House. So from the Freedom House, they always have an annual survey of they have an annual index of the index of freedom of all the countries. So Freedom House would not have, and I follow that too. They do not have, it does not have a measure saying China is one of the freest country. Actually, it's the contrary. And then Pelosi also follows saying that it's a strong democracy, courageous people. So, I cannot speak for her, but if we just take the context, it's probably a slip of tongue on her part. We don't know if it's true, but it just does not make sense if you just read or listen to the whole speech, her whole conversation. What do you think? Yeah, obviously I don't want to defend her, it's not our job. It's just kind of analysis of what could have happened, right? And so, all right. Next, I wanted to give you a quick update of the Henan Village banks. I remember Louis had this question, so I promised to get back to you. So I think it's still worth our attention. A lot of people still cares about that. So the latest news shows that starting from August 8th, yesterday, all right, the local officials starts the fourth batch of payments. They have a substitution payments to certain depositors. So this time they claim that they are targeting the depositors with a single amount of deposit from 150,000 Chinese dollar RMB to 250,000 RMB. And at the same time, Henan's financial system has been shaken. For example, the official announced 3 people being sacked in one day on July 29th. 2 more people were announced. They got investigated on August 5th. All right, so however, it was reported in the Chinese media that the mastermind behind the entire scam, the person called Lü Yi, we can show his picture. He was the actual controller of the financial group of the company who reportedly controlling all these village banks. And it was alleged that he fled to, you guess where? The United States a few months ago. So Lü Yi, he controls the company called the Henan New Fortune Group, and this group, he's the shadow boss of several village banks in Henan. And today, in the how he was able to do that is saying that he started over a decade ago. He relied on his former father-in-law to make his fortune, okay? And his father-in-law was vice mayor and then become the mayor of the city of Henan, the capital city of Henan, Kaifeng, all right? So Lü Yi, this person tried, in order to get more closer to the top leader of the capital city of Henan, he married to his daughter. And later on, somehow divorced or something, and this person, Lü Yi, had a much bigger ambition, just did a lot of scams. And it was reported saying that he not only fled to United States now, and he actually is not a citizen of China. A few years ago, he became a citizen of what's the country? It's called a Cypriot. He's already a Cypriot. Okay, he is a citizen of Cyprus. All right, but this is what's reported on the Chinese media. But how could he, do or succeed in all those scams? The relationship with the officials, right? And how, the whole system is supporting such kind of a corrupted businessman, because all those depositors all from all over China, when they try to get to Henan to protest, their health QR code started from green to red, which forbidden them to travel. How could he control all the system? The whole system is corrupt, and probably a lot of the officials in the system are being corrupted by him or his partners, who knows, right? So, but in China, when some crisis happen, what the CCP government does is they always just try to scapegoat some people, okay, make some people scapegoats, and but it won't really solve the root problem because the whole system is corrupted, and a lot of people, this Liu Yi, probably he may not be the largest beneficiary of this scam. There are higher officials who benefit from this, maybe more than him. However, they will be kept safe, scapegoating him who's already fled the country. So yeah, unfortunately, the victims are always the common people in this kind of under this kind of regime, tyranny regime, dictatorship. So yeah, this is what happened. All right, so now it's almost 1 hour now. It's a little bit too long a show, but so let's see. Oh, Louis said, thank you, Cathy. I was driving and couldn't chime in. You're welcome. Yeah, I hope my research and my answer satisfies you, and we'll still keep an eye on that, all right? So, the cancer mouse, Pelosi is still trying to figure out tomorrow drink. Okay. Daniel, you said that the U.S. needs to step up and fill the backlog order of weapons to Taiwan. They are paid for. Yes, actually, I remember I interviewed a scholar who's from the United States, who are former Air Force officials, now a fellow in Taiwan, Gilmont, right? Remember, he believes that actually not only that United States needs to fill up the order of weapons to Taiwan, he believes that the United States should give to Taiwan just more weapons, just like what they did to Ukraine. Well, that's his, that's what he believes. So I don't know how you think, but overall, Taiwan really needs to, make itself sufficient enough with the weapons, especially with the will of the people to go against the CCP's intention of invade. Just like I think we probably shared with you, one of the entrepreneur in Taiwan, he committed to donate 1,000, like $0.1 billion, right, to Taiwan to strengthen its defense. So yeah, more and more, because he believes Taiwanese, a lot of people, they too much in favor of the money, but too afraid of CCP. So he said it's very important to educate people about what CCP really is and to encourage people to stand up to the CCP. So I think, we all applaud what he did, and hopefully more people are educated about what CCP really is, what a tyranny regime are capable of, and why it's important for us to get educated and stand up to all kinds of signs of such kind of a dictatorship or tyranny. All right, so that's it for today. Appreciate, so glad that you are with us for the show today, and we'll see you tomorrow. All right, take care. Good night. Bye-bye.